which is right through here. I was out in the backyard and doing a little bit of gardening, sort of my version of gardening, and I was doing a certain kind of operation that involves keeping plants in check, and I thought this would be an interesting kind of opportunity to give a little bit of an example of what I consider to be natural economics, or something similar to it. Over here you'll see I've got my compost pile, or what I call my rotting pile. Over here I've got my binding pile. Now my binding pile are all sticks and things that I've pruned from trees. As you see, I've got quite a collection of trees in my backyard all around me. You can see the way a lot of these plants are. It's a part of nature, and basically nature's edict is maximize your resources. Everything does it. Anything that doesn't is going to be taken over by those that do. People say, well, why would they do it? It just happens to be that anything that does survives better than those that don't, and those that don't end up perishing, and the ones that do it, they end up flourishing. So that's why it's there. It's just simply because it was some sort of a operant way of functioning for the plant or animal, whatever the case may be. It simply is something that proliferated because it was able to survive better than those that didn't. Now, one of the funny things about people, it's said that, oh, they're such control freaks and they always try to control nature and they force it into unnatural states. And this is not true. What's actually happening is that what we're doing is what I'm doing here by trying to limit the growth of these plants is simply to apply the same rule to me that they apply to themselves, that they maximize their resources. So if I don't operate back in the same way that they do, they'll take over. And I'll have a jungle here. Not that I hate jungles, it's just that the effect can be quite damaging. So we have to perform the same task. We can't be mindless fools and just sit back and let nature take its course. We have to perform with nature. We have to maximize our resources. Now my resources are the driveway right here, and I like weeds. One, because I don't have to pay for them. Two, I don't. If I can let them grow, then I don't have to pay for all the pesticides or the work that I have to do to kill them off. All I got to do is exercise a little bit of maximizing of my own resources. I'll be able to coexist on a happy level. So I maximize my resources, but we being humans have a little bit of a thing that we can do called thinking, and we can try to limit what nature does by using what nature gave us, our minds. That's one of the things that people forget. You can't just let things walk over you. You've got to participate. You've got to actively participate. Now I take up these plants. Goldenrod, I love goldenrod. It's so beautiful. And I take this stuff over to my rotting pile, where it will rot down into a compost. Some of these plants have deep roots, like dandelions, and they'll go down and take nutrients out of the ground, convert it into something usable. And I can put it on here, it'll rot, and then I can take that and spread it out over the garden. And I'll get more greenery, more weeds. I love my weeds. Also broadleaf plants. But there you have it. Now, there's something else I did want to mention regarding economics and the funny way that we sometimes look at it. Now, I've already expressed my view of nature's fundamental way of looking at things in terms of economics, and that is we maximize our resources. Everything living does it. But oftentimes I'm finding that there are people out there who condemn the free market economics idea
And a lot of times they're conflating it with what goes on in America and the so-called free market economics they have down there, and there's something very flawed about it. And one of the foundations of it, we hear quite often, let the buyer beware. There's certain terminology that often comes along with it, but there's a very funny thing about that term, let the buyer beware. I like to see somebody express to me what a buyer is. If you look at economics in a sense, it's always an exchange. It's not one-sided. There's always somebody who seems to be trying to set up things in an adversarial way to make it seem like one side is different than the other side, and it's not. Because if the buyer must beware, if you look at a proper exchange, what it is if I have something of value and you have something of value, let's say I value what you have more than what I have, and you value what I have more than what you have, then we can make an exchange and both mutually benefit. So neither one of us is a buyer and neither one of us is a seller, or both of us are buyers and both of us are sellers. It's not let the buyer beware, it's let all of us beware. But there's a certain aspect to that seems to see people in a bad light, because if you must beware, it means there's something crass and negative about the other person who's offering you something. Be sure that what she's offering is what you want. That's very important. That's fundamental. That's intelligent. Anybody who acts stupidly and goes around thinking everybody's going to give them something to benefit them and not themselves is being a little bit foolish. Unfortunately, one of the things I'm finding happening is we tend to build up these institutions that function on automatically. We set them up that way, and unfortunately a lot of times these institutions have backlashes or side effects that we don't really pay too much attention to, and over a period of time, because they didn't seem like very big side effects way back when, so much so that they weren't noticeable. When they get to a different scale and a larger scale, the side effects can be cumulative and be hidden but quite damaging over a period of time. One of the things that I find is a terribly negative side effect is that we don't use our heads anymore. The automatic aspect of it, that we set ourselves up for a fall. That we don't pay attention to what's going on around us. We need to pay attention. We really do. Free market economics is just an exchange between two people. If anybody advocates the disbanding of free market economics, they're basically saying that we shouldn't be free to exchange among ourselves. And I have a problem with that. Now, there's those that say, oh, well, what if they exchange something that's really bad, really dangerous, like terrible drugs and bombs and stuff like that? Which are basically saying that people can't be trusted. And that's one of the losses with the institutionalization of this control system that says that people are basically bad. We're not. There are bad people out there, yes. But do we have to turn ourselves into people haters in order to coexist with each other? I think that's a damaging effect of some of the ways that we've set up our system. And one of the problems seems to be that we're trying to set up a system where it's absolutely guaranteed where no one will ever get hurt. And that is impossible without destroying the system itself. It has to function. If you put a straitjacket on it, it can't function. Yes, we can take certain kinds of precautions, but please, we really have to be careful about the kind of precautions we take, because we're really going to let ourselves into a big hurt if we keep on doing it the way we're doing it. Thanks for listening. I'd love to hear anybody's views on this and questions. Ta-ta for now. Take care.